podcast. Have you been on podcast often? Is that what you're saying?
I've done some other podcasts, in the past.
Like what?
There's this one called Bitch Talk. They're great, actually. You should check them out.
What's the premise of this Bitch Talk?
I think it's just women who talk about different cultural things. They're based in San Francisco, so they interviewed me when I was out there actually screening this film at the San Francisco Documentary Festival.
Cool.
Yeah.
And it kind of sounds like shit talking, but I guess they're referring to themselves as bitches, and
I think it's mainly, in the Ani DeFranco sense of the word, reclaiming the word bitch. Yeah,
bitches offering cultural criticisms.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Right.
That's it.
I'm sorry.
No problem. Do you need some water?
I might need some. This is a weird angle to be doing this at.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I don't think I've ever. I remember when I podcasted Dakota. I was sitting on this side of the desk.
Yeah.
And because there's no leg room for someone who's not on your side of where you're sitting right now, which is because if you're sitting at the desk like you would if you're working at it.
Yeah.
There's no leg room, so I had to
lean in
and put both my legs on either side of the chair, push it all the way up to the desk, and then try to do it that way.
Yeah, you're a taller, bigger man than I am.
I wouldn't say taller, or probably bigger.
Yeah,
like going this way.
I was just saying,
not this way.
In comparison to me, I'm a small human.
Yeah.
So you're a bigger human than me.
Which, by the way, for anyone listening, we are inside Professor Dakota Nan's office. He's sitting off to the side right here.
There's somebody who is not just observing us. I feel like we're
it's not quite overhearing, but it's also not quite eavesdropping.
Yeah,
because for one, he's right there, and also
he's cohabitating space with us. But that's about.
Also, you're going to hear this again after it's released. So it's gonna. But you. Adam Sekuler.
Yeah, that's me. You said my name right. That's like a real rarity.
Yeah.
Good work.
Which, by the way, when I was first contacting Professor Nan about having you on a podcast, I totally misspelled your name.
Oh, yeah, well.
And then I noticed it, and then the minute after, I copy-pasted the email and actually spelled your name right in the thing.
Okay.
So he could, when he did forward it to you, your name was spelled correctly.
I wonder how many people, in order to even get my name correct, end up copying and pasting it. It's a good question. I've never thought of it before. Thanks for opening up a whole new realm of my imagination to how my name is circulating in the world.
Because I glanced at your name. It's even on my syllabus for the class.
Okay.
It said this week visiting filmmaker.
It. That is me making it right there.
Your name on a syllabus, and it's not because you're an instructor. You made it.
Yeah, exactly.
And
that's right. Exactly.
And I looked at it, glanced at it once or twice. I'm like, Adam Sekuler. Sekuler, that's his name. That's totally his name, Adam Sekuler. And then I'm writing the email to Nan, and when I sent it, and I'm looking at your website because I wanted to get your information to put into.
You're doing your research.
My spread. I should have done it before then.
Yeah.
But I was doing for research for the podcast to put in the show notes. Hey, Adam Sekuler is X, Y, and Z. He's visiting blah blah blah.
Okay.
Right. And then it's Sekuler.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, most people call me secular. So, and I have this kind of
Mr. Secular.
Yeah, well, I used to call it the secular Jew. But actually, there was a kid I went to middle school with who remembered my name. And for all of you who ever stumble across this podcast by copying pasting my name into a search engine, he remembered my last name by saying the Pepsi's in Sekuler. So there you go. Tip. Pro tip.
I want there to be some kind of sitcom called The Secular Jew.
Yeah, there you go.
It's
actually
he's only ethnically Jewish. He's not observant.
I recently conceived of a television show with another Jewish fella called Next Year in Oaxaca. It's a pretty offensive show. It's essentially
So
about.
no one picked it up.
Well, we haven't pitched it yet, but
Okay.
this is like you're learning of it first here on this podcast.
You heard it here first, guys.
Yeah, that's right. So next year in Oaxaca is about two Northeast Jewish guys who decide that they're going to convert to Mexican Catholicism, and they ride two horses from Brooklyn to Oaxaca, but they never make it there. Much like next year in Jerusalem, it's like the thing is, if you're Jewish, next year in Jerusalem, something you say at the end of the Passover Seder. So actually, this TV show begins at the Passover Seder, and there is no next year in Jerusalem. It's never happened. For most Jewish people, it's not like you end up in Jerusalem a year later. So we actually would never arrive in Oaxaca, but the journey is what it's all about. It's supposed to be a comedy.
So instead of Oaxaca,
but we've offended our own people, and we've offended other people in the
you end up in Tijuana instead.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Maybe Tijuana.
Next year
in a prison in Tijuana, probably for trying to smuggle horses over the border.
I didn't even realize. Is that a real term? Mexican Catholicism?
I believe there's like a whole branch. There's probably different. Maybe we'll drag Dakota into this.
The only that
It's not like Greek Orthodox, like in terms of like it's its own branch, but I think Mexican Catholicism is a thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's like I think there are like symbols that are specific to Mexican Catholicism.
the only modifier I've heard regularly in front of the word Catholic is like Irish Catholic.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So,
well, we're going to rebrand Catholicism with Mexican here. So,
guys, we're rebranding Catholicism.
Yep, that's
we're
what
trying
we're
to
doing.
fix Catholicism.
That's what's happening in this podcast right now.
You're trying to fix Judaism and Catholicism at the same time.
Well, we're trying to leave Judaism. So
trying to
we're looking to convert.
That's kind of how Catholicism
started. Yeah, I mean, like there's a parable in here potentially.
They were the original Catholics, whoever they were. Yeah. It was them trying to fix Judaism.
That's right. Whoever they were, Jesus. Did you know? I mean, this is another interesting tidbit. Is like, so I went to Hebrew school, as any good Jewish boy would do when they're growing up. Maybe Dakota didn't go to Hebrew school, but he's only partially Jewish. So, but they taught us. So instead of there's like BCE, which is like before the Common Era. Yeah. But when I was a kid, they taught us BCE meant before the Common Error.
Is that what that's how they refer to Christ?
That's right. The Common Error.
I mean, he is present in all Abrahamic religions.
Yeah.
I think
that's how he's present in Judaism. The Common Error.
He was one of you, though.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, he doesn't really show up in our version of the text that we read. So.
How ashamed are Jewish people of Jesus?
Yeah, it's a good. Well, so shame that we're trying to convert to Mexican Catholicism, apparently. So.
Where he's the central figure.
Well, sort of. I mean, it's like, it's some version of.
I imagine, like, whoever wrote the first volume explaining Catholicism, the subtitle is it's titled Catholicism: The New Judaism.
Yeah, I believe that was that. They dropped that because it was too confusing. I think.
I want there to be like another sequel.
Yeah.
In this series of religions.
Yeah.
To Catholicism. I'm not sure what it
Mexican
would be.
Judaism. I mean,
Mexican Judaism. Or it could be
Mexican Buddhism. I mean, like we can keep going here.
Or it could be like a new version of Catholicism, but based on the teachings of Buddy Christ from that Kevin Smith movie.
Buddy Christ, yeah, there you go. I mean, that sounds like a good book for Kevin Smith to write, potentially.
I mean,
the funny part about this conversation is my films are nowhere near this humorous.
Well, it's a different side of you that people can
They can
listen
feel it.
to
They can
after
feel it.
watching your films.
Yeah, they'll be like, "Wow, I'm in tears," but now I have to.
You'll be in tears for another reason when you watch his films.
Yeah, exactly.
So, did you fly in yesterday or?
I flew in last night, and boy, are my arms hurt.
Now, you're based in New Orleans, right?
Yeah, I'm currently based in New Orleans.
When did you start? When did you put your base down in New Orleans? When was that?
That was like, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah.
And what made you think New Orleans was the place to be?
Have you been?
I've never been.
Yeah. Well, if you go, you'll understand.
I've heard there's
Good food, good music,
good food, good music,
good culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
right now in particular, you don't like, this is a place where New Orleans is a place where you don't feel like you live in the United States.
Right.
And at this particular juncture in American history, that's a very good feeling.
Yeah. And
in case anybody finds this in the future, we're living through the 45th president of the United States.
we are. Yes, we are. We currently are. And you how do you know Dakota here?
So Dakota and I went to grad school together
At UC Boulder, right?
University of Colorado. Yeah. Is Dakota a regular on the show? Like when you interview people, is he often the voyeur?
He has been on it once.
Okay.
And
well, he is a character. He's an identifiable character.
Yes.
Then
There's usually not more than 2 people
in
the
this
room,
episodic experience
in the room while I am recording a podcast with someone.
Okay.
It's usually just me. Me
so
and
there's
guest.
not always a voyeur.
No.
I'm always there. You just aren't aware.
Yeah. Hey Dakota, do you want to be my co-host?
We keep dragging you in.
If you say yes, I have to find a different device that has more than 2 inputs. So you. No, but
just shout really loud. And then like the door will fly open periodically. Other people who like work in this department will show up.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, "What's going on in
someone
this room?"
will go up to the window and start knocking on
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
No, but so are you guys right around the same age? Were you in the program like concurrently?
I don't think we're around the same. So, I mean, the interesting thing about grad school is age is no longer a factor.
Okay, yeah.
Although, that's true for some undergrads as well. But I think I'm a year ahead of Dakota. Yeah.
Or 2 years.
2 years? Okay. Oh, right. Yeah. So, I was 2 years ahead. And I am older. That much I know. I believe. Dakota informs me he's like probably the youngest person teaching on the campus here at University of Hartford.
And
On the campus.
maybe in this department.
Certainly amongst the new faculty in the year, again, third year of the president, of the 45th president of the United States.
Were you
Perhaps the final if we're lucky. Okay, keep going.
How did you guys, like, I know you met in grad school, but
Yeah.
was like, how did you guys meet? Were you in the class, in a class and then like just mingled? And
I swiped right.
Was Tinder a thing back then?
Well, I wasn't using Tinder, and I don't think Dakota was using Tinder either. But no, when a new grad comes into the program, you end up meeting them. And Dakota had been through CU. He's like a fixture of sorts, I think, on the CU campus already. But he had been in the art department, and our film program is affiliated with the art department.
Right.
Have you seen The Amazing Prince? They're probably...
I was aware back when I had Dakota on the show that he has a bachelor's in printmaking.
That's right.
So
he's a very good printmaker.
I would imagine so. You got to show me some of your stuff. And
he should have a show here before he finishes this fellowship that he's on. You can arrange for that, I bet.
we actually, when he was on, we talked about him having his own podcast.
Oh, yeah?
Like the possibility of him having his own show.
That wasn't the kind of show I was referring to, but yeah.
Oh, you mean like
The subject matter of today's podcast.
you mean an exhibition of his work?
Well, this is what happens when you decide to be a voyeur of a podcast, is you just end up becoming the subject of that podcast.
Oh, yeah.
For anyone looking to become the subject of a podcast, just walk into the room of a podcast and occupy space for a while. Inevitably, you'll be roped in.
Now, where did you go for undergrad?
I went to the University of Minnesota.
Okay.
In the Twin Cities. Are you familiar with the Twin Cities?
Of Minneapolis and what's the other one called again?
St. Paul.
St. Paul.
Yeah.
St. Paul. Yeah. I would say most of my interest in, say, Minnesota comes from Bob Dylan and the fact that he...
Not Prince.
Well, I'm also a fan of Prince.
Yeah. But you're a bigger fan of Bob Dylan.
I mean, back when I was like really into Bob Dylan, like it was my life for a moment.
Okay.
Like, I would say
Robert
so.
Zimmerman, probably in that period of your life.
Yeah.
That's how you referred to him, I would guess.
Robert Allen Zimmerman.
Yeah, there we go. See?
And I knew like he attended University of Minnesota.
This is true. He dropped out.
Yeah. And then he just like went to New York to be Bob Dylan.
But actually, he played on the streets in Minneapolis in an area called Dinkytown.
Yeah.
Which I spent a fair amount of time in when I was living there. It's very close to the campus. And he played on 4th Street. And you must be familiar
with the song Positively 4th Street.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You also probably are familiar with a song called All Along the Watchtower,
yes.
which he wrote and was popularized by
Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, exactly. So the Watchtower is a tower in a different neighborhood just off the campus there.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah, so there's a lot of mythology around Bob Dylan.
Oh, yeah, totally.
In the Twin Cities in particular.
Yeah.
Actually, I used to work for a film production company in a building that was owned by a cousin of his.
Really?
Yeah. A Zimmerman. The guy told me he was Bob Dylan's cousin.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't like I was just making affiliations based upon the last name. There's probably, thousands of Zimmermans.
Oh, yeah, totally. Now, when you were at University of Minnesota, were you majoring in film there?
I studied political science and film, and I also studied French and cultural studies.
Okay.
Yeah, I did a lot. Do you want to start speaking in French? We could.
I don't know French, guys.
Okay.
I've had other...
I can start speaking in a French accent if you really want me to. The rest of this podcast will be in the character Jean-François.
We'll do a separate recording of us doing a sketch where you'll be portraying the part of some Frenchman.
Sounds good.
No, but so what your primary major or interest was, film or political science?
I don't think that I could separate the two at the time. Yeah, they were interwoven in my my consciousness in some way.
Is because you're like driven to make conscious media?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's like in a very subtle way a political agenda afoot inside of my work, but it's not like agitprop filmmaking or anything like that.
We're going backwards now. Went from grad school to undergrad now.
Yeah.
Where are you actually from, though?
If you had to guess. Can't. Great. I'm from New Jersey.
Oh, okay.
Not too far from here. We're separated by a single state.
Yeah. Now, where in Jersey? Like northern Jersey? Or
Central Jersey.
Central?
Yeah. In New Jersey, we like to refer to that part of the state as Central Jersey.
Okay.
Edison, home of the light bulb.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Have you been?
I think I've been to Jersey briefly, and might have been when I was very young.
Yeah.
So,
why did you go? Do you remember?
No.
Okay.
I probably just like drive. It was probably like going through Jersey to get somewhere else.
Okay.
So,
I mean, that's what New Jersey's best for.
Being the intermediate, the thing
it's
you
a
get
pass
through.
It's a pass through.
The thing you get through to get to Philadelphia.
Yeah, people get through Jersey. I got through Jersey.
Now, were you always
funny?
Yes, you're Jewish. You're funny.
No. Now we're offending everyone.
No, but were you always interested in film, like from a young age?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I used to go to you ever hear of this place called Blockbuster Video?
Yes.
Okay.
I remember I was in one.
When you were probably in New Jersey, you passed through it. Well, I used to go to the Blockbuster, which was like 3 blocks from my house.
Yeah.
And I pretty much rented the entire foreign film section.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And watched it in my home. I watched a lot of movies in my house. My grandparents, I think, really were influential in helping me get interested in cinema.
Would you say your fascination with film started what would be the age?
Yeah, you're like using your hand here, so probably at about like 2.5 feet, maybe 3 feet.
Okay. How does that translate into years?
Yeah, well, I'm 5'8".
Yeah.
Is this for me?
Oh yeah, that water is for you.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
You still haven't answered my, like, what age would you say is like when you
3 feet.
What was the height at which you'd say you became conscious of film? Like you thought, I like watching movies and all that.
I think it was when I achieved 3 feet.
Okay. Do you remember like the first film you watched that made
me cry?
That made you
I do remember my first.
Not necessarily made you cry, but
Okay.
like made you conscious of like, oh, this is a good movie.
Probably the one that made me cry.
Okay.
Turner and Hooch.
Okay.
Yeah, I was with my dad. We both cried. Actually, a lot of crying experiences occur when I'm watching films.
That's
They
kind
do.
That's kind of the.
If you want to make me cry, bring me to the movies.
That's the barometer I use to tell if a movie is good. If I cried.
Yeah, usually. I laughed, I cried, and it was better than Cats. That's taken on a whole new meaning in the third year of the presidency of the 45th president of the United States.
You say you were.
It's now a very low bar.
Now
It probably was a pretty low bar before, but it's like it may have dug a ditch beneath its low bar.
Now you say you were really interested in foreign films. You rented out the entire section.
I did.
from the Blockbuster.
Yep.
What are some of your favorites?
My favorites, well, at the time, probably Cinema Paradiso. Have you seen this film?
I've heard of it. I've not seen it.
Yeah. Well, you should watch it.
I probably should.
It will make you cry.
I passed by it like on Netflix when it was on there.
Yeah,
And-
I'm sure it's somewhere. You'll be able to find it. It reportedly played in cinemas for over a year.
Really?
Yeah. Not that that's any measure of success of a movie, but
Now is it Italian?
it's
film?
an Italian film. Yeah.
So it's the ET of Italian films that play.
In a way, it is an ET of Italian. I mean, you're dealing with a young kid as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, there's something nostalgic about it.
Yeah.
And the same. Yeah, it's totally the ET of Italian films.
Would you say
I think that needs to go on the poster for Cinema Paradiso.
the ET of Italian films? Now, would you say like Italian film is like your thing, or is
No.
it more just, or do you gravitate towards one nation over the other?
No.
So you're just consuming French, Italian,
Japanese, Indian,
all of them, right?
Pakistani.
Serbian films.
Yeah, you name it. I did watch some Serbian films. There's some really good films from, it was former Yugoslavia.
Yeah.
But yeah. Are you familiar with Amir Kusturica?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, well, you should check him out too.
Yeah. I'm trying to get
Underground, great movie.
More. Right, cool. I think I have heard of that one.
Black and white, black cat, white cat. Do you know? No.
I am trying.
Maybe our voyeur can Google.
Yeah. he's our
research assistant.
research assistant. I am trying to get more into foreign films.
Yeah.
Like,
Is there a reason? Why did you decide foreign films are something you should get into?
Because for some reason it feels like everyone who's not
from the United States
every
speaks a
filmmaker
different language, and
No, it seems no. It's more like I feel like every filmmaker who's not American is just much better at filmmaking.
And do you believe this because Parasite won the Academy Award this year?
Well, kind of, yeah.
Okay.
Because like
That's a great movie.
yeah, it is. I loved it. It seems like every foreign film I've watched is great, and it feels like
Does it feel like you're reading a book?
they're hitting a higher mark in terms of artistry than like the average American film.
I totally agree with that statement. We have an interruption with this podcast is brought to you by Black Cat, White Cat.
Yeah.
Amir Kusturica.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if it was either or. It's both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially like when I'm watching, say, Bong Joon-ho's films
Yeah.
and noticing the directorial choices, in terms of like cinematography, editing, or just framing in general.
Yeah.
And
he's just the tip of the iceberg.
I'm looking at this, I'm like,
There's a deep history of cinema embedded in foreign language movies.
oh yeah, totally. And I'm just thinking like there is so much to dig into here in this film that you normally would think it's not. It makes me think like this guy this guy directs, and he
does,
and he directs his ass off every movie he's made, and it makes me think I'm so born and raised into American cinema, that it makes me think
somebody's breaking in. There's a break-in.
Oh,
There's a break-in.
Come on in.
No, it's all right.
No.
Housekeeping. No, but
we're doing this podcast in a hotel room
office keeping.
there's a voyeur in this hotel room.
No, but so I'm so born and raised within the realm of American cinema that that's mostly what I know. But then I look at stuff by like Bong Joon-ho.
How old are you?
I'm 23.
Yeah. How tall are you?
I think we're the same height, 5'8".
Okay. How did you know I was 5'8"? Like, you've done your research.
No, but I'm so ingrained in American film. But then I noticed people like Bong Joon-ho or like people from France or Italy, like, you know, the old school kind of Fellini's, the Jerome Godards, and whatever.
Sure.
And like these guys know how to make films, and
I agree.
And it makes me think if American cinema has its own industry and like lineage of people to look to,
there are.
That means every single country has their own.
This is true. You're right. That's a truism.
Yeah, it makes me want to like dig into every single country's history of cinema. And
you should start with Canada.
Okay.
Yeah, seriously.
Actually, you've shown us a lot of Canadian films from the Canadian Film Board.
The National Film Board of Canada. Yeah. No joke. Canada has a very rich history of filmmaking.
Oh, yeah.
You might call it socialist filmmaking because it's supported by the state.
Yeah.
In fact, most other filmmaking is supported by the state in some capacity.
Yeah.
But not in America in the year of the 45th president.
In fact, there are some Canadian filmmakers who you wouldn't think they're Canadian because they're so in the American film industry.
David Cronenberg, maybe you're referring to him.
Yeah, or Jim Cameron.
Jim Cameron.
As in James Cameron.
Yes.
And like...
you guys are on a more intimate...
I know Jim.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
It's like Marty.
Marty.
We're pals with Marty. Actually, Dakota and I had a professor who used to claim to know Marty.
Really?
Yeah, it was Dakota's thesis advisor.
Marty's curator came to my thesis show.
Yeah, there you go. Marty's curator came to Dakota's thesis show.
For my film, so maybe Marty's seen my film.
Yeah, Marty might have seen his film at the Little Church in the Pines.
And
I don't think Marty saw it.
Who knows?
Yeah. What Canadian films would you say are good to watch?
Gilles Groulx.
Okay.
Check out his work. GILLES GROULX maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
Something like that. Do you know Gilles?
No.
Are you pals with Gilles?
We call him
Gilles. Gilles.
Is that
this is the part where you can have me speak in a French accent.
Is that the sequel to Gigli?
Yeah,
with Ben Affleck and Jennifer
definitely,
Lopez?
Gilles Groux's films are not the sequel to Gigli. Blasphemous. Jean-Claude Jutre, another great Canadian film. Like there's some really good Alan King. Alan King actually is a real inspiration to me, to be honest.
Okay.
Especially for the film I'm playing here in Hartford.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And now, when did you start making films? Were you?
Probably the first film that I attempted to make was sometime in high school with my parents' VHS camcorder. I just dated myself. Have either of you watched a VHS tape?
I have.
Okay, well, there's still... okay, yeah, we can keep going.
So your first amateur film was in high school?
Yeah. Really, it was like I made an edit in high school.
Okay.
Meaning that I put two shots together.
Right.
And it was a revelation for me. A door opened literally in these two shots.
Right, okay.
And my mind exploded with excitement. It did.
you wouldn't call that your first film, right?
I mean, in a way, it's my first film.
Okay.
As much as like the Lumiere brothers' first film is a
Just
single shot.
The train coming to the...
A train arrives at Lyon station. Yeah.
What would you say is like the first thing where it felt like you had a vision, like you're actually...
I mean, I was conscious of the choices I was making when I...
in terms of opening a door.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I wonder if I'd shoot a hand touching this door and then the door opening if that works. And guess what? Cinema magic.
Yeah. But what would you say is like the first real thing you worked on that like had a narrative or something like that?
Well, that's a difficult thing to ask.
Like, was there...
I don't know that I was interested in having a narrative.
Okay.
Necessarily.
Was there one where it felt like you actually kind of knew what you were doing in terms of...
Yeah, for sure.
And like it came together and you're like, this actually looks real cool.
A door opening. I'm not joking. I mean, in some way, like that is all I really needed to know.
Okay.
In some way.
And you were making films throughout your undergrad, right?
No, I really wasn't. I didn't have the equipment. The school I went to was like a film studies program.
Oh, right. Okay.
So I was watching a lot of films, hence my political science degree as well.
Okay. Was there like a film you saw in college that blew your mind and made you think differently about films?
Yeah. Werkmeister Harmonies. Have you seen it?
I have not.
Hungarian movie.
Okay.
Bellatar is the filmmaker. It's great. It'll blow your mind. I'm not kidding. It really will.
Okay.
It's also a good book.
Okay.
It has a great soundtrack, too. I'm not kidding. These are all...
What's the name of the director again?
Bellatar.
Bellatar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bela, last name Tarr.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to remember that. So would you say you didn't start like making films until grad school?
No, I started making films after undergrad.
Okay. Oh, was there like a bit of a buffer in between your undergrad and grad school?
Yeah, quite a bit of a buffer.
How long would you say?
I was still 5'8". I took many breaths in between.
Okay. Was that you working like at that production company in Minnesota?
Yeah, actually. So I did that very shortly after finishing undergrad. And we were producing TV commercials.
Okay.
So I made TV commercials for Best Buy, Subway, the Minnesota State Lottery, Target.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of different places. But I got out of that because it wasn't really why I got it into, or what I was interested in terms of filmmaking. I made some good money. If you're looking for a high-paying job, you can do that.
Yeah.
I wasn't looking for a high-paying job.
Yeah.
Call me blasphemous.
Me, I'm not necessarily looking for one either.
Okay.
Podcasting
doesn't pay well.
No. Not unless like...
We're blowing the mythology of podcasting here.
Unless, Adam, do you want to sponsor this podcast? Sponsor your own episode of the podcast?
I have already sponsored it with my presence. Actually, the University of Hartford has sponsored my podcast. Your podcast with me today.
Yeah. Well, officially speaking, this is not brought to you by the University of Hartford.
No, my presence is brought to you by the University of Hartford.
Yes. So you got out of like shooting commercials and all that because you really wanted to like make your own films,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. I made the controversial decision to forego a lucrative career in commercial film production.
Yeah. And then was that the impetus to say attend grad school?
No.
What happened? So you spent a few years
I
trying
spent
to
many
make your own
more
films?
years of being 5'8".
Yeah.
I was making some of my own work a little bit, but mainly I became a film curator.
Okay.
Yeah. So I started curating films for an organization in the Twin Cities, which at the time, initially I was curating for a place called the University Film Society, and they produced the Minneapolis-St. Paul International Film Festival.
Right.
And a few other festivals in town, a music film festival, a Jewish film festival, Latino film festival. They were the hub of the festival circuit in the Twin Cities. I became one of their they're programmers, they're curators.
Okay.
And I did that for a while. And then I moved to Seattle, where I continued to do film curation for an organization called Minnesota Film. I'm sorry, there was an organization in Seattle called Minnesota Film Arts. No, it was called Northwest Film Forum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I was there for a while. And then I decided to go back to school.
In grad school, what kind of films did you make?
I made, maybe Dakota could describe the films I made.
Third party.
Speak loudly.
Stop drawing me into your conversation.
He's trying to accomplish some work over there. He's no longer voyeuristically watching us.
I don't think I ever was.
No, but
He did ask permission, so we're just exhibitionists here.
So, what kind of stuff were you making?
I made a lot of different kinds of films. So I came into grad school, and before coming, I had made a lot of dance films.
Dance films?
Yeah, that's right. You heard correctly.
As in
like ballroom? No, not at all. As in, I used dance as a way to explore landscapes. Actually, I used movement I was using movement almost as like a topographic tool to explore landscapes that were charged with histories. So the histories that I was looking at in that time were nuclear power. Mm-hmm. There were two landscapes in the state of Washington, where one was the site of a facility that produced the plutonium for the bomb that was dropped on Nagasaki. Mm-hmm. And the other was a location called Uranium City. And that site is where they mined the uranium ore that was used in the bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was using dance inside of these landscapes as a way to kind of explore the histories, the invisible histories, I guess, because these histories are in the past and they're no longer really visible. Mm-hmm. It was a real conceptual project.
Right.
Yeah. And then, so that's what I came into grad school with, was like work that was doing that. I still made some dance films in my first couple of years of grad school, but primarily I was making documentaries. I was like pivoting into documentary production.
Right, okay.
And I did that also just before grad school in a residency program with a filmmaker named Harun Faroqi. Are you familiar with him?
I am not.
No, Dakota should add it to the syllabus. So Harun Faroqi, who's no longer with us, had a workshop that he did in Cambridge, Mass. That was called Labor in a Single Shot. And we were tasked with creating these short pieces that showed people working. Mm-hmm. Harun was gathering this work from across the world and putting it into an installation. And I ended up continuing working on that project on my own for something that I called Work in Progress. And it's an ongoing film about labor and its durations. I have been making that since 2013. Yeah, since I was 5'8".
And it'll be released when you're 5'8".
No, I've shown it a few times. The idea is that the project is, I continue to make it indefinitely.
Oh, okay.
And I show it periodically.
Oh.
And it's not that it is getting longer, much like I'm not getting taller any longer.
Right, okay.
But
you keep tweaking it in between showings.
Yeah, the showings become this kind of curatorial process in which I'm thinking about the place that I'm showing the work in, and then I put together the film that sort of best speaks to the audience that I'm showing the film to. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it also raises the question of like, when would you say a film is finished?
Yeah, this film is not finished. That's the whole idea.
Right.
It's a work in progress. That's the title.
And you want it to periodically show, just like say every year or something like that. Every
few years the film will screen. Yeah, I'm actually thinking of touring it this summer.
Yeah,
no joke, really. Yeah,
yeah.
Along with two other films that I've made since then. It would be 3 feature films.
Okay.
So there's the one that's screening here, Tomorrow Never Knows, which is a film about death and dying. And then I made a film after Tomorrow Never Knows called 36 Hours, which is a film about birth.
Okay.
And the process of the labor, really, of giving birth. So I want to go on tour called Life, Work, Death. The Life, Work, Death tour. Yeah. It's really, the t-shirts are going to be great.
When I was looking you up and taking a glance at some of your work and like where you're from and what you've done, I noticed you have some connections with some pretty big names.
Like who?
Like Barry Jenkins.
That's right.
And
Are there other big names, or is there just one?
There's one other I wanted to mention. Now it's escaping my mind. But
was it some brothers, perhaps?
Oh yeah, that's right. Joshua Benny Safdie. The Safdie brothers.
Yeah.
Who did you see their most recent film on?
I did. I took my dad.
Oh God. How old is your father?
My father's in his 70s.
And is he
in the third year of the 45th president of the United States?
And how tall is your father?
Yeah. My father is losing height, as it turns out.
That's usually what happens. No, but like,
unless things change in the future.
But
should you be accessing this at a time when your height continues to expand?
Now
that was not always the case.
Did you guys enjoy Uncut Gems?
Yeah, my dad really loved it.
Really?
Actually, yeah, he did like it. He did comment about the number of times that the F word. Am I allowed to swear on your podcast?
Oh yeah, totally.
Okay, so he was like, they use fuck so many times in this movie, and it turns out that it was written about. I sent him an article. It's actually the film with the 7th most use of the word fuck in the history of cinema.
And then like the top 3 are by Marty Scorsese.
Maybe. I actually didn't remember to pay attention, but I was like, well, Dad, you're not the only one to comment on this.
Yeah. And I remember I saw Uncut Gems.
Yeah. Not with your father.
Not with my father, no.
I mean, we're Jewish, so, this is a film that speaks to our people.
I thought it was good. I wouldn't say it was a enjoyable experience, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, why does cinema have to be an enjoyable experience?
For one, I think
Do you think cinema has to be an enjoyable experience?
From my own preferences,
yeah.
I would say I would like it to be enjoyable.
And I mean, how do you define enjoyable, though?
If I had a good time.
Did you not leave that film and think like, wow, that was kind of an incredible experience?
It was an experience. I thought the film was good.
Yeah.
And it was an experience to have.
And do you enjoy having experiences that are good?
Yes.
So you must have enjoyed yourself.
I mean, because I think for people who are not familiar with the film, it's
violent.
It's violent, and
they use the word fuck
a lot,
a ton.
It's anxiety-inducing.
Yeah,
I've heard
it achieved its goal.
I've heard a lot of people describe it as like a 2-hour anxiety attack.
Yeah,
and
how is that different than say a James Bond movie or like one of the Marvel films? I mean, maybe these Marvel films and the James Bond movie these days, right, have these like ironic asides that they throw in so that you laugh at something that's actually really dumb.
Yeah.
But mostly they're anxiety-inducing experiences. I mean, that's primarily their goal.
Kind of. Well, at least in that case, it's like you're in awe or excited about what the action that's happening. But and
you're not in awe or excited about the action that's happening in the Uncut Gems?
I was, but it was also really uncomfortable.
Yeah, sure.
And as opposed to say like watching the Avengers.
Isn't that a productive experience for you, putting you out of your comfort zone?
Sure, but I was also like,
because I would argue that my films are trying to put you a little out of your comfort zone.
Well, in terms of Uncut Gems,
you're going to come to my movie tonight.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
He's the
teaser, the trailer.
Yeah, and
did I put you out of your comfort zone?
That's well, the thing is with Uncut Gems, part of why it wasn't quote unquote enjoyable for me, I think, was because I saw it really late at night.
You were trying to go to sleep afterwards,
and it was like the only showing at my particular theater at like
It's poorly programmed.
Yeah. And I think I was dehydrated and kind of had a headache. And so watching Uncut Gems does not help that.
I think it's the inverse conditions, maybe. So, like, you might not have had a good experience being dehydrated. And what was the other thing you said?
I had a headache.
Yeah, if you had a headache and you were dehydrated, you might not have had a good experience watching, like, a Charlie Chaplin film.
Yeah.
So I think you brought your conditions into the cinema with you, which we all do all the time. And it made you not necessarily enjoy your experience. But you recognized that you might have enjoyed your experience if you didn't have a headache or you were not dehydrated.
I'm still glad I saw the film.
Yeah.
But it feels like, like those films where you watch it once and you're like, that was great.
Yeah.
I don't ever have to see that ever again.
So you're not going to experience it when you're not dehydrated or...
Oh, no. Maybe if I feel real crazy one day, I'll be like, I'm going to watch this again. I'm going to see what happens.
Yeah. But make sure you do it when not in those physical conditions.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Okay.
When you were working with Barry Jenkins, what project was that?
So we made a short film. I was producing these short films actually at the time, and I did that with both the Safdie brothers and Barry Jenkins.
Okay.
And that was through my work at Northwest Film Forum. Mm-hmm. So we were producing one-shot films, so kind of like Lumiere-style films, in that there's no edits in the work. Mm-hmm. It's a very simple way for me to engage with filmmakers who I was bringing to the Northwest Film Forum. So Barry came with Medicine for Melancholy.
Yeah.
Before he arrived, I said, would you like to make a short film? And he said, sure. And I said, it has to be just one shot. You can't edit the work. And so he made a film that's called One Shot, about a young woman robbing a small family grocery store. The Safdie brothers made a film called Cold Hustle. You can still find Cold Hustle out there, but I think Barry's pulled his film from circulation. I thought it was a great movie, but I understand. Barry, if you're out there, email me back.
He's ashamed of One Shot? Is that what it is?
I don't think so. I mean, I think, like you get to a certain point in your career where maybe the earlier work, you try to hide it.
Yeah, I suppose.
I'm not accusing you of that, Barry. I love you, Barry.
I also love you, Barry.
Barry slept on my couch a few times. No kidding. Subsequently, he would come up to Seattle to watch films that we were screening, and he'd stay at my apartment.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, well, that was before Barry Jenkins
became Barry Jenkins.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
which, by the way, Barry Jenkins, if you're listening, if you want to be on the show,
you got to hashtag this, buddy, because if you put the right hashtag, maybe Barry will find it. His agent will at least find it, and maybe they'll try to bury this show too.
Hashtag Benson meets Barry.
Benson meets Barry.
Barry Jenkins. If you want to be on the show, I
think you need to hashtag just Barry Jenkins.
I wouldn't say no.
So
I presume you've seen his work since.
Oh yeah, of course.
And you've enjoyed them?
Yeah. I've enjoyed them. They've put me out of my comfort zone.
Yeah. I saw Moonlight.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen If Beale Street Could Talk yet.
You should.
So.
Yeah. Barry's a great filmmaker.
He is, totally. And I haven't seen his first one, Medicine for Melancholy.
Yeah, you should see that. You're making your judgment off of this one movie you saw of his.
Well,
I mean, it blew you away. But it's difficult to say that he's a great filmmaker after one movie.
I suppose, yeah.
Yeah. So you should watch the other films.
I should watch these other things.
And then you will come out with the same opinion.
Although,
I trust you will come out with the same
I'll tell you this. I know he's dating Lulu Wang.
Right? I had no idea. He was dating this woman, this Asian woman, actually, in Seattle for a while, which is partially
who was not Lulu Wang.
No, who he was coming back to see periodically. I've outed you, Barry. Now they're really going to bury this.
No, but he at the very least knows Lulu Wang.
Okay.
And
you have a big crush on Lulu Wang.
I saw her film The Farewell. Have you seen it?
I'm familiar with it, but I did not watch this movie yet.
If I'm not mistaken, it's her first feature.
Okay.
I loved it. I thought it was a great film. Now it makes me think, that's her only feature, though.
You can't wait for their children.
And and it's her only feature, and it's the only film I've seen of hers because it's her only feature.
Yeah.
But would it be?
There's probably some shorts.
Yeah, but
would I say the same argument? Is it difficult for you to say that she's a great filmmaker based upon the single film that you've watched? Is that what you're about to ask me?
Yeah.
I mean, I think you would have to wait to see what her next film looks like.
Yeah.
It might be a fluke. Barry's not a fluke, though. Trust me, you were right to say that Barry's a good film.
Yeah. Well, I hear he's also he's adapting that Colson Whitehead novel, The Underground Railroad.
I didn't know
into
this.
a miniseries.
Yeah, you know more about Barry than I do.
He slept on your couch.
That's right.
And I know more about Barry than you do.
I mean, you know more about his professional life, but I can tell you that about his odors. Yeah, so I love you, Barry.
So he's adapting The Underground Railroad into a miniseries for, I think, HBO.
Okay.
Or something.
That's great.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And
this is why One Shot can't be found anywhere any longer.
He's on to bigger and better things.
That's right. And but the Safdie brothers, on the other hand, they allow Cold Hustle to live in the world.
Right.
It is an anxiety-inducing film.
Or I feel like that's
like their work.
Yeah.
Although, have you seen Daddy Longlegs?
I have not.
Yeah, it's a beautiful film.
So the only Safdie brothers film I've seen is Uncut Gems.
Okay, well, you should watch their other films.
Yeah, I've been meaning to watch.
They have more than Barry.
Yeah. Yeah, I look like I would.
All of their films are not anxiety-inducing.
I've been meaning to watch the film before Uncut Gems called Good Time, starring Robert Pattinson.
It's great.
And
anxiety-inducing.
So I remember I flipped past it on Netflix. Like, do I really?
Do you go to the movies? Or is Netflix your only source of watching work?
I try to go to theaters to watch movies rather often.
Okay, good.
So, in fact, because I'm so
it's just that you referenced Netflix a few times.
Yeah,
so
I know.
I thought I should check in.
And
we're at that point in the podcast.
Most of me using Netflix is looking for things to watch and then not watching them.
Okay.
So because as a student and being really busy, it doesn't feel right to put on something to watch at home when I could be doing my schoolwork or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I use going to see movies at the theater as a way to, hey, it's going to start whether you're there or not.
Yeah.
So you could just go and watch it and that's how I see a lot of things.
Okay,
when I'm real busy and don't want to just throw something on at home.
That's good. People should be watching movies in the theater, especially during this COVID-19 period.
Oh yeah,
in the third year of the 45th
share your popcorn
president.
and cough on everyone.
Yeah, share your popcorn
and don't wash your hands when you go to the restroom. No,
it's amazing how many people I see. The men's room.
Oh yeah,
the men's room is a crazy place. I can't believe how many people leave the men's room and don't wash their hands.
I know, right?
It's kind of frightening.
It is.
It was frightening before, but now it's particularly frightening.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to blow out your...
No, it's all right. I mean, as long as you don't peek too often.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the most recent thing you saw in theaters?
I'll let that joke go.
I just got it. Okay. Well, I guess in terms of your career, you could only peak once, right?
Yeah, that's... Maybe.
No, but what was the most recent thing you saw in theaters?
Yeah, it's a good question. What was it? Oh, I saw this film. It was a shot in Louisiana in the 80s, and it just came back. Oh, boy, what is the title of this? Oh, Cane River is what it's called.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about I call it a film about different shades of black.
Okay.
It is
so
about...
it's Moonlight?
In a way. I mean, it's about... it's a love story like Moonlight.
Okay.
It is not the same kind of tracking time in the same way as Moonlight doesn't do that.
Okay.
It's about two young black people in this area, this kind of rural area of Louisiana, who fall in love. And they are, one of them comes from a family of wealth, whose family owned slaves during slavery, and the other one comes from a family who's not so wealthy. Her family was enslaved. Kind of the conflicts that arise inside of that tension in the black community.
Right, okay.
in Louisiana in particular. Yeah, it's a very interesting work. It was restored and it's being released now by Oscilloscope, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So you'll probably be able to stream it on Netflix.
Maybe Netflix will pick it up and then and distribute it or something like that.
Well, they'll stream it.
Okay.
I don't think they'll pick it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel bad about sharing my most recent film now.
Yeah, go ahead. It doesn't matter. I mean, I watch some of my favorite work is done by this amazing comedic actor named Will Ferrell.
Okay.
You know him?
I'm
not joking. Again, I love Will Ferrell.
Okay.
So don't feel embarrassed about the films that you're about to...
looking at your body of work
Yeah.
and you explaining things you've seen recently. I'm he's real socially conscious. He's watching all this stuff. And then I'm I watched The Invisible Man.
That's great.
The most recent thing I saw was The Invisible Man.
I didn't watch that.
It's
actually, maybe I watched something else. I probably watched 3 Days of the Condor again most recently, but not in the cinema.
Right. Are you at least familiar with the concept of Invisible Man? It's based on the H.G. Wells story of The Invisible Man.
Yeah. And there's a new adaptation of this.
Yes, by Lee Wanell.
Okay.
He was
Is it great?
Huh?
Is it great?
I really liked it.
Yeah.
I thought it was great.
It was entertaining.
It was really entertaining.
Not anxiety inducing.
Not like Uncut Gems,
yeah,
but in a different way because it is a thriller horror film.
Do you think there's can you describe something about the cinematic techniques that perhaps Uncut Gems used that are different from The Invisible Man?
Okay, so in Uncut Gems, the thing that really drove my anxiety through the roof was early on when the first scene when you're in the jewelry store.
Yeah.
He's talking to Adam Sandler's talking to Lakeith Stanfield, right?
Yeah.
And the sound of everyone else in the room talking kept rising.
Yeah.
At first I thought, this must be a mistake. This audio is way too compressed.
Yeah.
And then I realized, oh, that's the point.
Yeah.
It's supposed to sound really
loud.
A cacophony of chaos in this jewelry store. And it made me super uncomfortable. I'm I can't. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's something else going on in that movie too, which is they're using a lot of close-ups in that film.
Yeah, it's real.
So they're holding the tension in tight shots.
Yeah, but in say The Invisible Man,
wides,
a lot of wides,
very well mixed sound.
Yes, in a way you could say the sound in that scene from Uncut Gems was well mixed to achieve what they wanted.
I'm sure it was.
Yeah, but in The Invisible Man, one of the things I really liked that Lee Wanell did, the writer-director of the movie, a lot of times. You'd be have a wide on Elizabeth Moss.
Yeah.
And then the camera would pan over to empty space in the room.
Yeah.
And then hang on there for almost too long and then pan back to her because it's supposed to be he's invisible.
Yeah.
He could be right there, but you don't know.
So the tension is held in the pause.
Yeah.
And in the empty space.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the technique of showing you what's not there to try to scare you.
Yeah.
Or withholding the presence of whatever the monster or villain is supposed to be.
Sure. It's playing with your expectation of what should be there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. That's great. I've barely talked about my work, but I think we've reached our hour, probably.
I mean, we can go. I mean, you don't have to do anything until what?
Well, until 3:30.
Okay.
And I should probably stop sometime before then.
Okay. Well, I have class at 3, so we'll have, I think, at the very latest, stop at 2:30.
Okay.
But I would like to talk about your work.
Yeah.
So the film you're screening here as part of the Making Conscious Media program class with Professor Nen is called Tomorrow Never Knows.
That's right.
Right. You spoke about it briefly before.
Death and dying. Yeah.
Earlier. It's about death and dying. Is there much more you could say without, giving away the film?
It's about, so the film's about a transgendered individual who has early onset Alzheimer's, is a Buddhist, decides they want to have a conscious death.
Okay.
And the only legal option they have is to stop eating and drinking.
Okay. And it's a documentary, right?
It's a documentary. Doesn't look like a documentary, but it's a documentary.
Does that mean it's a docudrama?
No. It means that I'm not, I don't put people, it's not like this. It's not like a podcast where there's two people talking to each other. There's not set lighting around an individual that I'm interviewing.
Okay.
You're not going to find interviews in my film.
So
you seem perplexed.
Does that
mean
you
raised your head and suggested to me you were perplexed?
Does that mean it's you're fly on the wall just filming people do stuff?
Yeah. mostly. Okay. I'm doing stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did you start working on this?
Well, this is my thesis film, which is when Dakota first saw it. In fact, Dakota probably gave me feedback a few times. Yeah, so I started filming this project in 2016, I believe.
Okay.
In the late summer. And then I finished in September of 2017. No, I started filming this in 2015 in the late summer. And I finished in September of 2016, the filming.
Okay.
So I spent about a year with the couple. So it's two people.
Mm-hmm.
Only one of them has Alzheimer's. Only one of them is deciding to have this conscious death. And the other one is their spouse who's supporting this individual through the process. So I filmed with the two of them for a year.
Okay.
And then I spent the next 6 months probably editing the film.
Okay. Did you enter into like festivals or anything like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the film played like 20 festivals, I think. It premiered in London at the British Film Institute.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
And then it played all over the globe. I feel pretty fortunate. Yeah.
It's very cool. And I noticed the film's title is Tomorrow Never Knows.
Yeah.
Which is a Beatles song.
That's right. You know your Beatles.
Yes, I do.
You were a fan of the 60s at one time.
Oh, yes. Why did you choose to title it
Tomorrow Never Knows? Yeah, well, so the first day I showed up to film with this couple, Shar and Cynthia are their names. Shar, who's the individual with early onset Alzheimer's, had this piece of paper on like a countertop. Mm-hmm. And I looked at it and I said, Shar, what's this? And he said, yeah, this is music to die to. This is my music that I'm putting together that I want to listen to while I'm dying. I was like, wow, that's incredible. What is the first song on your list? And Shar said, Tomorrow Never Knows. Actually, I asked him the last song.
Oh.
Not the first one. It was, what is the song? What is the last song? What is the song you want to die to? Tomorrow Never Knows.
Or did you ascertain like the rest of this playlist? Or?
Yeah, actually, the playlist is available on Spotify. You can find it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I can share it with you. We can have it as a download or something or a link on your podcast.
Yeah.
If you'd like.
Yeah. Guys, if you want to, here's some songs you can die to.
Well, it's one individual's playlist.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Shar's playlist.
Yeah.
So it happens to be a playlist that Shar conceived of when Shar was conceiving of Shar's death. So,
right. Okay.
Yeah.
I imagine
Yeah, we're going to just use the word Shar. So,
yeah.
And this is a complicated part of the film. So Shar, instead of he, she, gender pronouns, I go actually with Shar.
Yeah.
I try. I did say he earlier, so I slipped up. But Shar has a very gender fluid personality in this way.
So when Shar, I assume Shar has died since you made the film.
Shar died in the process of making the film.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
You will witness this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Prepare yourself.
Okay.
Hanky in tow, as they say.
Okay. I assume beforehand you've never caught someone dying on film.
Never. No, but I had made a film about a cremation before this. So I had seen a cremation and filmed a cremation.
How was that experience?
The cremation or watching somebody die?
Catching Shar on dying on film.
Profound. Yeah. It was a real profound experience. Moving, in some ways inspiring. I mean, that's hard to say because somebody died, but it was a very conscious, somebody decided to die.
Yeah. When you first got started making this, was it they approached you? You approached them to start making it?
So their Buddhist chaplain came to me because of the film that I made about the cremation.
Okay.
And asked if I would be interested in making a film. And at the time, it wasn't clear to me that I was making a film about somebody dying. It was clear that I was making a film about somebody who had Alzheimer's. But in the process of pretty quickly upon spending time with them, it was clear that this is what was going to happen. Right. And if I paid attention on day one, really good attention, let's say looking at a playlist that says music to die to, I would have recognized that this is what was ahead of me.
Did you have any reservations when you first found out, this is going to be this?
No, none. I mean, I'm very much on board with the Right to Die movement.
Right.
And I had to... I wouldn't have made the film otherwise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think it's like your responsibility
to share the story?
That's the story?
That's my responsibility, was to share the story as Shar and Cynthia were experiencing it.
Right. Obviously, you're proud of this work.
Yeah.
Would you think Shar would have liked the film?
I shared parts of the film with Shar before Shar died.
Okay.
And Shar understood my vision.
Okay.
Yeah. As best I could tell.
What would you say is the thing you were trying to achieve with the film, with the message that you were trying to convey?
I mean, a number of things. I'd say the message is about choice and dying. The message is about love, and about boundless love.
Right.
The message is about supporting the people around you.
Yeah.
In difficult times. There's a lot of messages in there. There's some spirituality in the film. There's quite a bit going on.
That's why you want people to get out of this film, to like realize people should be in charge of their own lives and in turn their own deaths.
Yeah. Very much. People should have a choice in how they end their life.
Right.
Yeah. We started in tears of laughter. And here we are.
That's why I always hope for the podcast. We start in one place and end up in another.
Yeah.
That's our arc for the episode.
That's a good arc.
Well, I think that's a good place to end.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Thank you so much for being on.
Absolutely. Thanks to Professor Dakota Nant
for arranging this.
Yeah.
And being a voyeur to the recording.
Being a voyeur to the experience. Thanks to the cleaning crew who tried to come in and take care of our room here. Thanks to the University of Hartford. Thanks to my mom and dad. Thank you, Shar and Cynthia. Thank you, Barry Jenkins. Thank you, Josh and Benny Safdie. Thank you, Northwest Film Forum.
I guess you could say flattered that you think being on this podcast is so special that you're using it
as a platform for my thanks, for my gratitude.
You're accepting an award and you're thanking everybody.
Yeah. Well, it was a fun time talking to you, actually.
Really, was it?
Yeah, it was.
I only hope it's fun for people.
Well, I hope that it's more than fun. I hope it's uncomfortable.
I hope it drives your anxiety through the roof.
Yeah, but enjoyable, nevertheless.
In post, I'm going to...
I hope you learned something.
In post, I'm going to compress the recording so much that you'll feel like Adam Sandler or Lakeith Stanfield in that scene in Uncut Gems in the jewelry store when everyone's talking, and it's.
I can't wait to hear this. Then I'll be able to judge the educational skills of the University of Hartford.
Yeah. All right. Well,
or at least your ability to watch YouTube tutorials.
Yeah. Now. So Tomorrow Never Knows is screening here today.
Today. Yeah. So this podcast will come after the film, but you can stream it online through Vimeo on demand.
Yeah.
So Vimeo, Vimeo.com has an on demand section, and you can search for Tomorrow Never Knows, and you'll find my film.
And just one more thing, what are you working on lately?
So I'm working on a film about a woman in her 60s who has a late in life awakening in the Salt Lake City BDSM community.
Okay.
Yeah. It's called The Flamingo. Okay. And you can contribute to that film through GoFundMe.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Look for my name, copy and paste it, and GoFundMe, and you'll come across The Flamingo.
Yeah. All right, cool.
If I get a donation, I know it came from this podcast because I haven't been plugging that donation for a long time. So thank you for that opportunity and the opportunity to talk to you.
Cool.
I can't wait to hear it.
I can't wait to edit this.
Yeah. Edit. Oh boy. Walking through a door.
All right. Well, thank you once again for being on the show.
What's the name of the show?
This show is called The Podcast.
Oh, that's it? Wow, this is the most original name.
The full title is The Podcast with Benson Ty.
Okay, and you must be Benson Ty.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think you started with an intro.
No.
Do you just like dive into every one of your episodes, or is that part of the editing process?
I just think of these as me having conversations with people.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be, I mean, in this case, it was me like asking you questions about stuff.
It was like more like a dialogue, I think.
Yeah. But like that was more like professional curiosity.
I asked you quite a few questions.
Yeah. But it was more.
Will they be edited out?
No. I tend to keep all this in. But I know it's like me asking you questions throughout this whole thing was more of a professional curiosity on my behalf.
Yeah, sure.
But like, say if I'm sitting down with just a friend of mine, I'm not going to interview them.
Yeah.
So much. We're probably just going to make each other laugh the whole time.
Okay.
So
we did a little bit of that.
Yeah.
So now we're pals.
Yeah.
We're friends.
Yeah. I have an in with Adam Sekuler.
That's right. I didn't sleep on his couch though.
He was, however, on the podcast.
I was on the podcast. Yes. Thanks so much.